Dave Neilson, Fantasy Sports Giant, coming back to you today to take a look back at Week 1's winners and losers for quarterbacks. Let's get right into it. The big winners, two unfamiliar names that are usually not in this category, Alex Smith and Sam Bradford. Smith over 300 yards, Bradford the same. Smith had 4 touchdowns, Bradford had 3 touchdowns. The big question is, can these guys continue this throughout the season? Right now, I would say no, because they've had their moments in the past, and still the inconsistent play causes them not to be guys that you target during the fantasy season. However, when you look at both these guys and their offenses, it looks like they got 2 good offensive lines. They got 2 rookie running backs who look pretty impressive. Kareem Hunt for the Chiefs, Dalvin Cook for the Minnesota Vikings. Smith also has a reliable tight end in Travis Kelce and a wide receiver, it looks like, who can stretch that field in Tyreek Hill. Then with Bradford, Stephon Diggs can stretch the field, and he also has a reliable tight end in Kyle Rudolph. Obviously, right now, these guys will be picked up on the waivers this week, I am sure. So if you don't pick them up, somebody else will. I would go ahead and pick them up, stash them on your bench. If they continue to put up these type of numbers, then these are guys that you want to start every week. Otherwise, they can be buy replacement quarterbacks for your starter. So then also, I wanted to look at Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. Jared Goff had over 300 yards passing and a touchdown. In my opinion, when your defense is playing that well, it gives the offense a lot more confidence, and I think that's what happened here in this game against the Colts. So Jared Goff is not a guy I would target right now. I do not think he'll continue to put up those type of numbers. Has another decent matchup this week against the Redskins. However, I don't think he'll get over 300 yards this week against the Redskins. Carson Wentz, on the other hand, this is a guy you should target if he's out there, if he's available. I doubt he is. He was high on people's radars as a sleeper type of pick this year. And I think Carson Wentz, he had over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, used Nelson Aguilar and Zach Ertz, familiar faces. He still has Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith. He's got a lot of talent around him. I think Carson Wentz, at the end of the season, will be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. So if he's still out there, go ahead and pick him up. Then also for the losers, let's start with Carson Palmer and Andy Dalton. Palmer had 3 interceptions. Andy Dalton had 4. Palmer, obviously, he had some bad games last season and is starting to come over into this season in Week 1. I don't know if this is a guy I want to put in my fantasy lineup right now, but where you probably drafted him, you have no choice. Hopefully, he can get back on track in Week 2 and for the rest of the season. He has a lot of talent around him. However, he did lose his running back, David Johnson, for the next 8 to 12 weeks, so that does hurt as well. For Andy Dalton, I just don't think the Bengals got anything going in this game. The Ravens' defense smothered him and everybody around them in that offense. I think he gets it back on track this week. Maybe his best days are behind him, but he plays the Texans Thursday Night Football. I expect him to get back on track. Maybe not a 300-yard game, but he's got to have over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Tom Brady and Russell Wilson, both these guys disappointed as well. Tom Brady looked pretty good in the first half. However, in the second half, that Chiefs defense really got to him, and that put him down this week as one of the loser quarterbacks. Again, Tom Brady is a top 5 fantasy quarterback. He should be there the rest of the season. This is a guy you will never bench. He will get back on track. And then Russell Wilson, that's a concern for me. If I looked at it, more than anything, that offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks is in a lot of disarray right now, and Russell Wilson was getting chased by the Green Bay Packers all day. If they don't get that offensive line intact, I think we're going to see more bad games than good for Russell Wilson this season. This is a guy that right now you might not want to put on your fantasy starting lineup. This has been Dave Neilson, your Fantasy Sports Giant, Week 1 winners and losers quarterbacks. I'll be back later today to hit on running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Dave Neilson, Fantasy Sports Giant. We'll see you next time.